Sorry if I'm not exactly looking very presentable right now. I was up most of last night working on a midterm project, and, well, I wanted to nip this thing in the bud because I've already had a lot of people try and tell me about this. People on Skype have messaged me about it. I've gotten texts about it, and a couple messages on YouTube about it, so I figured I would just go ahead and put a stop to this now. For those of you who aren't aware, it was recently announced that Hudson, via stock swap, is now a wholly owned subsidiary of Konami. This is Hudson Entertainment, by the way. Hudson Entertainment is the US branch of Hudson that handles mostly localization issues. Basically what this means is Konami has taken over Hudson. There are still offices in Japan for the regular Hudson group, but they're mostly working on social games, mobile games. Basically, Konami had already owned about half of Hudson, and they just completed the stock swap to do a complete takeover. Hudson's CEO is going to be basically cut loose. Their stock is going to be delisted. Hudson's basically not going to exist on its own anymore. One of the key sources in identifying this news was actually an online post made by Morgan Harrow, who is the product and brand manager for Hudson Entertainment. I actually have it up right now, and I'm going to read a few bits of it, just so you can get an idea of, well, what's going on with the takeover, and what his thoughts are. And in particular one that applies to me and Bloody Roar fans directly. First of all, yes, the above is entirely true. Soon or already you'll see the news hit the wire, and probably a few gaming blogs from our PR company, that Hudson Entertainment is shutting its doors. Second, let me be clear, Hudson Entertainment, not Hudson Soft. Hudson Soft is still a company with offices in Tokyo, Japan that will still be employing a good handful of people. Hudson Entertainment is part of Hudson Soft, and we handled bringing Hudson's games to North American territories. All major Japanese publishers have a similar setup, etc., etc., etc. But as you may have seen in the news, Konami has acquired the entirety of the Hudson Group, and the offices in Japan will likely be focusing on social games. This was the line that was touted in the news earlier this month. It was revealed today that all of Hudson's previously planned projects have been cancelled, and that our office will be closing its doors at the end of February. Here's where it starts to get into this guy's opinions, and reveals a little bit about what Hudson was thinking. Like every company, Hudson Entertainment wasn't perfect. As the industry continues to march to the drum of Western game development, Hudson became, for me, a symbol of why Japan has fallen behind when it comes to bringing worldwide hits to gamers. He goes on to say, "From the Wii generation on, we had success with the first Deca Sports." Deca Sports. Fuck that game. Due to its ability to fill a hole in the then-hot OMG it's like Wii Sports category. But we failed to innovate when it came to the sequel and the sequel's sequel. Meanwhile, there were countless missed collaboration opportunities between the US and Japan. But it wasn't just with Deca Sports. By the time we received the game design document for a given title, development was more than likely well underway, usually past the point of the dev team being able to make any major changes. Suddenly, calling makes a lot more sense. Usually, a greenlit concept would have some redeeming ideas, but from my perspective, there were countless opportunities our titles weren't taking advantage of. Hudson has certainly done its best to keep on top of the heap. I would argue that. Here's where it starts to get very particular in who he's addressing. A special note goes to the fans demanding a return of the Bloody Roar series. This is a little hard to read. It was something I personally pushed for in the company despite the crowded fighting game market. With digital distribution channels like Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network, I felt there was a chance, if done right, to reinvigorate the series. There were some game design documents sent around internally of some spin-off of the series, but it didn't seem like it was the right direction. No, you know what wasn't the right direction to take? Bloody Roar 4, that wasn't the right direction to take. Where was I? There was a chance for something to happen late 2011, early 2012, but clearly we won't see what was to be. To the Bloody Roar fans out there, I read every single one of your messages, petitions, and calls for the series to be brought back. You guys are awesome, and perhaps someday a developer and a publisher will pick it up and do it justice. Until then, just know, you guys rock. How do you respond to that? Now, I know some people might think of this as kind of a crushing blow to the hopes of ever seeing another Bloody Roar, outside of maybe the releases on PlayStation Network or Xbox Live Arcade. But, here's how I look at it. Hudson doesn't have Bloody Roar anymore, technically, since they're a subsidiary now of Konami. Konami has experience with Bloody Roar because they're the ones that helped publish and market Bloody Roar 4. Now, you can easily make the argument that they're not going to be too eager to work on another Bloody Roar title. I might make the argument that they would be more willing to let the Bloody Roar license go to someone else. And remember the time that I offered Hudson, what was it, $32 for the Bloody Roar license? Well, I'd like to do something similar again. Only this time, I am not naming my price. I am simply asking whoever owns the Bloody Roar license now, what do you want? I'm being completely serious. Name your price for the Bloody Roar license. Just give us some idea what you want for the Bloody Roar license. And especially if you're not going to do anything with it. Because if you're not going to do anything with it, why would you bother keeping it? Until then, pretty much the only thing I can do is raise a drink and say, Hudson, you made Bomberman, you made the Bloody Roar series, and I have nothing against any of the individual people who worked at Hudson, but at the same time, you made Bomberman Act Zero, you made Bloody Roar 4, you made shitty party games, and you made fucking Calling. So I'm not going to miss you that much. Cheers!